Good morning, Royal Ones. This is Miss Gigi coming at you again with another juicy episode. Let's talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a civil rights leader, Baptist minister, social activist, and humanitarian. One of his favorite quotes is, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you gotta keep moving." All right. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday was January 15th. He was born January 15th, 1929, and he died April 4th, 1968. He was born Michael Luther King Jr., but then later changed his name to Martin. In 1954, Martin Luther King became pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. His father and maternal grandfather were Baptist preachers. King succeeded his father-in-law as pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. King then enrolled in a graduate program at Boston University, completing his coursework in 1953 and earning a doctorate in systematic theology 2 years later. While in Boston, he met Coretta Scott, a young singer from Alabama who was studying at the New England Conservatory of Music. The couple got married in 1953 and settled in Montgomery, Alabama. They had 2 sons and 2 daughters. They had 4 children: Yolanda Denise King, Martin Luther King III, Dexter Scott King, and Bernice Albertine King. He directed the peaceful march on Washington, D.C. of 250,000 people, to whom he delivered the address, "I Have a Dream" speech. Martin Luther King Jr. was named Man of the Year by Time magazine in 1963. At the age of 35 years old, Martin Luther King Jr. was the youngest man to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. I love the philosophy Dr. King stood for, and for the 6 steps for national nonviolent social change are based on his nonviolent campaigns and teachings that emphasize love and action. And his quotes: "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." I love that Dr. King tried to curtail racism with love and respect. He fought for segregation and racial equality among blacks with dignity. I love him and I highly respect him, and I am honored to share the same last name as him. I don't know if we're related, but I too have the same passion for uplifting and motivating people and being a positive, peaceful change agent wherever I go. What a powerful, strong impact Dr. King has led on the lives on of African American race and the way the world views us. Now we see black faces and white places in unity, working side by side toward a common goal, as Dr. King had envisioned it in his "I Have a Dream" speech. His legacy leaves love in the footprints and equal treatment for all Americans. We cannot change the past, but we can dictate the future. We have to continue to love one another and support each other regardless of the color of our skin. Love drives out hate. As the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s, Martin Luther King Jr. traversed the country in his quest for freedom. His involvement in the movement began during the bus boycotts of 1955, as well as shaping the Voting Rights Act. King had become a target for white supremacists who fired bombs on his home after the court ruled segregated seating on public buses as unconstitutional in 1957. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King was arrested and sent to jail because he and others were protesting the treatment of blacks in Birmingham, Alabama. A court had ordered that King could not hold protests in Birmingham. In 1963, Birmingham, Alabama was a hard place for blacks to live. Boycotts, sit-ins, and marches to protest segregation, unfair hiring practices, and other injustices in one of America's most racially divided cities. In 1957, he and other civil rights activists, most of them fellow ministers, founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC, a group committed to achieving full equality for African Americans through nonviolent protests. To shed light on injustices African Americans continue to face across this country. On the evening of April 4th, 1968, while standing on the balcony of his hotel room, Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, where he was led to protest a march in sympathy with striking garbage workers of that city, he was assassinated at the age of 39. News of his death was greeted with an outpouring of grief and rage. Riots erupted all over the country, primarily in urban black cities. James Earl Ray was born in Alton, Illinois on March 10, 1928. A confirmed racist and small-town criminal, Ray began plotting the assassination of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in early 1968. He shot and killed King in Memphis. Confessing to the crime the following March, he was sentenced to 99 years in prison. Each year, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a U.S. federal holiday since 1986 and is celebrated on January 15th. That's tough. That's always have been tough for me in regards to how there's still some racism still going on today, and the way that we're still being treated, and how we're still marching the deaths of certain way that blacks are being mistreated and killed, especially George Floyd and Trayvon Martin and countless of others blacks that's been murdered by the hands of racist individuals, police officers, or other people. It's real sad that a lot of racial police brutality has been taking place, and you would think there would be some change, but since the assassination of Martin Luther King, but we still have more progress. Still have more progress to make, and I think it's real sad that we're still fighting this issue today. We've overcome 40 years of slavery, and you would think that everybody would be tired and exhausted of being racist. Racism is a negative, exhausting action word. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of it. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of racism and discrimination. People looking at me at the color of my skin don't even know me. You don't even know my character. You don't know what I can bring to the table. You don't know the value that I add. You just don't like me for the color of my skin. I encounter people looking at me a certain way. They don't even know me. I married my first husband. My first husband, he was white. He was German, blonde hair, blue eyes. And a lot of white women will walk up to me and say, "You can't date. What's wrong with you? You can't date your own people. You can't date inside your race. Why are you dating a white man for?" Even today, it's still people got a freaking problem. And now I just certain things I won't do again. I'm not racist. It's just that I don't like the way I'm being treated when I do date outside my race. And I figure, damn if you do, damn if you don't. You date outside your race or you date someone within your race, they still gonna look at you funny. So it don't even matter what you do. Oh, you think that if you date, like I hear that there's a lot of black men that date light skinned girls or date white girls and think that they're gonna treat you any better. They still gonna see you as a black man. They still gonna see, you know what I'm saying? So it don't even matter if you date outside your race or not. They still gonna look at us funny. We always gonna be different from them, and they're gonna be different from us. So it don't matter how much money you make. And you think that if you level up and get you a light skinned girl that they're gonna treat you better? No, that's no matter. That don't matter. They still gonna see either some type of way. It'll be worse because it's always somebody within that race gonna feel like, oh, I deserve that person. I deserve to be with him. I deserve to be with her. So that's why it don't even matter. It don't even matter what you do. It's I'm pro black love, pro black family, pro black family. So I'm pro dating whoever you want to date, but really I'm actually pro black. Uh, the civil bill, the Bill of Rights were created so all men were created to be treated equal in the eyes of the law. That is the concept of the Constitution, but not everyone lives by that. Nobody everybody lives by this concept. Racism still exists today in regards to being in the workplace and among many colleagues of many different fields. Competition is cutthroat. Equal is not really equal, and racists see it as there's a black law and a white law. There is no other law. In 1868, many police officers refused to protect African Americans based on race. Many restaurants refused to serve African Americans based on the color of their skin. Stemming from the 14th Amendment, the U.S. freed all slaves, and they were free to work, live as they wanted, and peacefully. Lincoln did not free the slaves. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation giving slaves civil rights, but Harriet Tubman freed the slaves for her infamous Underground Railroad. If only the slaves knew they were slaves. Slavery is a mindset, actually. Discrimination is to mistreat someone based on the color of their skin, race, nationality, origin, disability, age, or religion. The federal law bans discrimination. In order for a person to file a case, the act of discrimination must have taken place on your job, your educational institution, housing, healthcare, loan application, credit application, or voting. Check the civil rights laws to find out what your rights are and how your rights are being trampled or infringed upon. Here's a list of civil rights legislation for your research. I need you to look at the U.S. Code Title 42, Chapter 21. Look at the Civil Rights Act of 1866. Look at the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act of Institutionalized Persons Act. The Fair Housing Act. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act. The Voting Act of 1965. And the Equal Pay Act of 1963. Alrighty. Let's talk about Miss Coretta Scott King, because you cannot talk about Martin Luther King without talking about his infamous spouse, the lady who had his backbone. Behind every great man, there is a great woman. Coretta Scott King was born April 27th, 1927, in Marion, Alabama. She died January 30th, 2006, in Rosetta Beach, Mexico. She was an author, activist, and civil rights leader, and the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In 1951, Coretta Scott enrolled in New England Conservatory of Music in Boston. And while she majored in voice, she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was attending theology at Boston University. The two got married in 1953 and had 4 children. Coretta Scott helped lead the civil rights movement in the 1960s alongside her husband. She was an active advocate for American civil rights and helped to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Montgomery bus boycott with Rosa Parks. She founded in Atlanta the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, known as the King Center, which is led by her son, Dexter King. After Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, she sought to make his birthday a national holiday in honor of his life works and his contribution to society. Established in 1968 by Coretta Scott King, the King Center is an official monument dedicated to the advancement of the legacy and ideas of Martin Luther King Jr., leader of a non-violent movement for justice, equality, and peace. 2 days after her husband's funeral, King began planning $15 million for funding the memorial. She handed the reins as CEO and president to the King Center down to her son, Dexter Scott King. In 1986, she wrote a letter to the U.S. Senate opposing Jeff Sessions as a Supreme Court judge because in Montgomery, Alabama, he was using his power to block black voters while he was Southern District U.S. Attorney for Alabama. I had a growing sense that I was involved in something so much greater than myself, something of profound historic importance. I came to the realization that we had been thrust into the forefront of a movement to liberate oppressed people, not only in Alabama, not only in Montgomery, but also throughout our country. And this movement had worldwide implications. I feel I have been blessed. I have been called to be part of such a noble, historic cause. It was a sacrifice for Coretta, who had given up her dreams of becoming a classical singer. Her devotion to the cause while giving up her own ambitions would have become symbolic of the actions of the African American women during the movement. Her daughter, Yolanda Denise King, motivational speaker, died at the age of 51 in Santa Monica, California. Her cause of death is unknown, but some speculate it was due to heart failure because she collapsed and died after making her speech. She was the oldest daughter of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. Coretta Scott King died at the age of 78 in August 2005. King suffered a stroke which paralyzed her right side and left her unable to speak. 5 months later, she died of respiratory failure due to complications from ovarian cancer. Coretta Scott King died on the late evening of January 30th, 2006 at the Rehabilitation Center in Rosarito Beach in Mexico, in the Oasis Hospital, where she was undergoing holistic therapy for her stroke and advanced stage ovarian cancer. The main cause of her death is believed to be respiratory failure due to complications from ovarian cancer. Coretta Scott King never remarried. May they both rest in peace. And may they, I appreciate what they both tried to accomplish in regards to moving this our race along as African Americans. And they both died too soon, but their legacy is still here and still lives on. And as African Americans, we have to try to do better as far as treating each other better, supporting each other, and as far as trying not to be racist and respect everybody else, even though everybody else, the rest of the world, has a hard time. Sometimes it seems like respecting us, but we do need to just try to get along with them. I don't know what their fear is with the color of our skin. We're different from them, and everybody else is light skin and we're dark skin, but they can't seem to accept us and like us. But we just got to keep doing the best revenge is success. Somebody don't like you, just keep getting up going and staying focused. And I recommend that we need to all trace our African roots back to the motherland, and we visit as much as we can the motherland and take a time out from our cities. When there is a lot of racial hatred going on in our city or in our country, I think we need to take a sabbatical and we need to, use our passports and go back to the motherland for a while and cool off and let them have it for a while. If they want to act out and act like they don't like us or want to be around us, for a while we need to just go back to the motherland. Take a break. Would they do snowbirds? They go somewhere for 6 months and come back for 6 months. Well, maybe we need to do that. We need to go back to the motherland for 6 months and come back to the United States for 6 months. So that way, that racial division, that racial hatred, they will cool off and give them time to think and calm down and stop acting so crazy sometimes. It's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. So what do you think about that, Royal Ones? Let's go back to the motherland for 6 months. Let's be snowbirds, But let's go back to Africa. Let's research our heritage. My heritage is Cameroon. Yeah. That's why I'm rocking my African earrings every single video you see me in my African videos. All my videos wearing my African earrings. All right, Royal Ones, tell me what you think about this message. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. Love, hugs, and kisses. Bye.